Hi everyone, my name is Honesty Lilier and I'm a woman in long-term recovery from a substance use disorder. And what that means to me is I've been drug and alcohol free for over 11 years. What recovery has given me is an amazing life. I get to help people just like me every single day as the CEO of the McShin Foundation. McShin is Virginia's leading authentic peer-to-peer recovery community organization that helps individuals with substance use disorders and their families. So I'm going to just take a few minutes and go over kind of what my story is. I think it's very important for you guys to understand the impact of addiction to not just us with SUDs, but to the family members that are involved. So here we go. I started using drugs at age 12. My family dynamic at home was a little dysfunctional, to be honest with you. I had two sisters, an older and a younger sister, and I was the middle child. My parents had their personal and their struggles as well. So at a very young age, I kind of taught myself how to get accepted with everyone around me. So I wanted so much self-love that I just didn't feel like I got much. And so I started using at 12 years old. And why I did is because everybody else was doing it, to be honest with you. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to go to fish shows. I was smoking a lot of marijuana and doing LSD and drinking. And I felt like, everyone else was doing it, so why not me? With that came with a lot of other defects that I didn't realize, as a kid, that I had. And my family didn't know. I was going to school and I got good grades. I was an honor roll. I just used a lot of drugs, sometimes during school and most of the time at night, with my friends. So from the age 12 to 17, I was traveling some. I was staying with so-called friends, and I started, going down a spiral that I never thought I would, go down. Two of my friends had already overdosed on heroin when I was 17, and that's when I started using heroin. I fell in love the first time I used it. I do not forget the first time that I used it. And when I was 17, I overdosed and got brought back to life with Narcan. So that's when my family got impacted. That's when they understood, like, somewhat what was going on in my life. They have to call, I overdosed, so they had to call, my parents from the ER. And my family showed up, and I'll never forget any of this either. My sisters are bawling, crying. My parents are crying. I'm going through withdrawal because of the Narcan, getting sick, and just, it was an emotional, painful situation. My family just didn't understand. My sisters knew that I smoked weed, but they didn't know that I was doing heroin. And they were just floored. They did not know what to do, not even just like how to be my parents and sisters, but like, what is heroin, So from that, I got on a medication, and my mom had to administer shots in my booty for about a week or two, and then I went to my first 12-step meeting. So my stepmother actually took me to my first 12-step meeting, and I went to about 2 or 3 of them. That is a blur, but I do remember that everyone was just old in those meetings. Again, I was 17. I thought I was running the world. I thought I knew everything, and I was just honestly trying to please my parents, to kind of just, okay, I'll do whatever y'all say. And I just wasn't willing to give up, the friends, so-called friends that I had in my life. So I ultimately started using again. It was a whirlwind as well, and I, thinking back, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did, being a 17-year-old girl, you don't really have your life together either way, with or without drugs. And from that, I met a boy when I was 19, and we ended up being together for 6 years. And through those 6 years, oh my goodness, I put my family through the ringer. I could sit here and tell you all the things that I did But for the main few things, I guess how I affected my family is the constant worry. Is she going to overdose again? The constant, every time the phone rang, is it going to be the hospital again? Is it going to be the morgue? Is it going to be the police? They had to live with that every single day for a long time, for lots of years. And I showed up to functions, with my family, but I was normally high, or I didn't show up at all, either or. I never was, off of drugs, for all of those years at family events and holidays and birthdays and stuff. I thought, I felt like I did very well at covering up, but in reality, I didn't. They just kind of were in so much denial, because I could say the right things, with the name being Honesty. I lied over half of my entire life, just trying to, every single day in my active addiction, just trying to cover up lie after lie after lie. And my family are the main people that got impacted by that, being able to, show my family that my arms, because they didn't have track marks, but I was using the drugs in a different way, or, putting on a ton of makeup, or splashing water on my face, or making up lie after lie after lie on why I couldn't attend an event, or I had to work, or just the constant chaos that I put them through. They tried different forms of treatment for me. I got the medication when I was 17. I have been sent away to a 28-day program. I have had Jesus. I've gotten baptized for them to try to, wash away my addiction. I have had psychiatry. I've had therapy. I've had methadone. I've had a ton of different forms of treatment for opiate addiction. And they just kept trying and trying and trying to help me. And I couldn't help myself. Like, I had no idea. At first, like the first few years, from like 17 to 20, like, I didn't think I had a problem, even though I was doing heroin like every day. I just felt like, just doing that drug took me away from like being human. And some of this might not make sense, but this is legit, like what we go through in active addiction. Like, I used because I didn't want to feel. Like, I didn't want to feel my feelings. I didn't want to show up for life. I didn't want to pay bills. I didn't want to be a daughter or a sister. I didn't know how to be, because I started using drugs at such an early age that I truly believe like my brain didn't fully develop and function correctly like a normal, 19, 20-year-old does, because I had so many chemicals in my body for so many years. And I just wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be accepted by those that I was using with. I wanted to be accepted by my family. I didn't understand why was I the black sheep, that you'll hear. My sisters were going to college and they were doing, good things. They had full-time jobs and they were getting their life, that they've always wanted. And I just didn't know what my life was going to be, nor did I have any experience, from being a teenager to, all the years that I used of like what I wanted to be. There was a part of my life that I wanted to be a neonatal nurse and work with babies, but that just got clouded so quickly, once I started doing, heroin, that I just didn't have that dream anymore. I didn't want to be a wife, a mom, none of that stuff. I was just so focused on lying and cheating and stealing and doing all the things that you do in active addiction that my dreams were gone, as a kid and early on teens. Like, the dreams that I supposedly had, like, they were gone. Like, they didn't even exist anymore. I was just trying to survive in life and trying to not go through withdrawal and trying to cover up my lie after lie and trying to get $20 every few hours. Like, I did whatever I had to do in order to function as a human. Because with opiate addiction, you physically get sick. Like, you physically go through withdrawal. So you have to have the drug constantly. And through this, like, my sisters just they tried with me, to have a relationship with me. And I used to go out drinking and stuff with them. It's just, they could do it, and be okay. I mean, they would get drunk, obviously, but they wouldn't go to heroin like I did, or they wouldn't go to pills like I did. Like they just could function, and I was just incapable of doing that because I have the disease of addiction, and I know that now, but back then I just didn't know I just beat myself up all the time. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Like I didn't know how to keep a steady job. I had so many jobs off and on, because I needed money for drugs, but then I'd end up getting fired or just quit because I'd be going through withdrawal and I wouldn't show up, or I would steal from the company and get fired. And that this was years of doing this. So, and I share my story just so you guys out there kind of know and you can feel of like what we go through, and specifically for me, for opiate addiction, and like the stuff that we have to do on a day-to-day basis, in order to get that drug, in order to get out of bed in the morning, in order to use the bathroom, in order to talk to humans, is you have to have that opiate in you to function. So with all of this and all these years of my parents trying to fix me, like my daddy, just wanted me to take this magical pill. Like he didn't understand what addiction was. Obviously, our parents are grown, every generation has grown up in a different time, and he just wasn't raised to know like what addiction really was. And he just wanted this miracle to happen. Just why can't you stop? Like, can you please just take this magical pill and make it all go away? Man up, like, or woman up, and suck it up and stop using. And he just didn't get that it was, such a pattern of withdrawal and using and withdrawal and being normal. It was a chaotic mess. And he didn't have the education either. He didn't have the education of like what addiction is, or daggone didn't know like what recovery is from addiction. Like he just did not, he didn't know, and my mom was in her own kind of world as well, battling her, demons that she had. So it was just, I was just numb to the whole parent thing. And I know they love me and I know they tried their best and all of that. I don't blame them whatsoever. So, if you're a parent out there listening to this, like, we do what we can as parents, and we love our children and we guide them. But it's ultimately, when you get that disease of addiction and your triggers, mine was specifically as soon as I started those opiates, something went off in my brain. My opiate receptors were in love. So there is nothing my parents could have done until I could have physically done something for myself. Like they tried everything again, and through this process, of my addiction, I got pregnant with my daughter, and all these forms of treatment and God and everything I said before, like I tried, I just knew that, I knew that God wouldn't put a human in my belly, if I was going to use the whole pregnancy. So but I kept using. Like it didn't save me, having a child growing in my belly and being a mom, like, didn't save me from my addiction. I kept using my whole pregnancy, and my daughter was born addicted to heroin. So then that's when the state comes in and obviously, and they mandated me to methadone. So I got on a methadone treatment program, and my family was like, okay, she has a baby now, she's on methadone, she's going to this clinic, but I didn't really have recovery. I was going to a group like once a week and going to see a counselor there like once a week, and I did okay, but I was doing like every other drug besides opiates and heroin, during that process. So I passed, with flying colors on paper. I passed as far as what the state wanted to see. So they let me keep my daughter, but I was no mother to her. I was still using other substances and other drugs and alcohol, and I just was trying to fly under the radar for the clinic so no one would take my daughter. And I loved her, and I changed her diapers and I did some of the motherly things, you're supposed to do, but I still was in a grip of my addiction because there was no recovery attached to it, that I just didn't know if I wanted to be a mom. A, I didn't know how to be one, and B, I didn't know if I wanted to be. So, it was a few years of me still using, and, my family tried, they did interventions on me. They showed up at my apartment. My daddy wanted to, beat up a couple of my boyfriends and the father of my daughter because he was just, a lot of the blame, like when you're in a relationship in active addiction, a lot of the blame gets blamed on the partner. But I know now from working through my program of recovery that, it was me, I mean, he definitely, the boys, the men in my life definitely helped, but it's been me, and it's been me since I was 12 years old, and, my daughter got neglected. She got neglected. My family, supported her and helped with, her diapers and food and all of that. And her biological father eventually went to prison while I was still using. And, my family, God bless them, they did everything to try to support her and support me. I was just unwilling to do everything it took, so no matter how much you've tried for your child or your parent or whatever, your loved one, like, you keep trying. My parents kept trying. They just kept doing different things to try to help me, and I went with the flow, but I never 100% fully dove into recovery. So fast forward until my daughter was 5, I left her with my biological mom because I couldn't feed her. It was to the point in my addiction that me and another man that I met at rehab at the 28-day program, we were just committing many felonies. We were neglecting her. I could not be a mom physically or emotionally at this point. So I left her, and I just dove right into my active addiction world and did things I never thought I would do. Like, my morals and my values went completely in the trash can on how I was raised, how I became a woman, and all of that just got pushed to the back burner. I didn't care. I did whatever it took, to get drugs every single day. Every single day. This wasn't, I just do heroin every other day. You need it every single day, and you do whatever you have to do in order to get that. So my mom had my daughter. My stepmom knew John Shinholzer, the co-founder of the McShin Foundation. So I came in. I was high the first time I met John. We talked, supposedly. Again, I don't remember. And then I came to the McShin Foundation, and they had 2 recovery houses, one for women and one for men. And I didn't know what I was getting into. To be honest with you, I was trying to just detox. I got on a medication to detox me off of heroin. I took a shower. I ate real food because I was living off of those 25-cent zebra cakes for a very long time, and maybe a McChicken at McDonald's because I didn't have money for food. I just specifically used all my money for drugs. And McShin saved my life. I came and my plan was to detox and leave and hook back up with the man that I met in rehab. But something magical happened. I truly believe it was God and just that authentic peer-to-peer recovery that we do here at McShin. And I was living in a house with women just like me, just trying to get their life together, trying to figure out what the heck their life is. And my family was just sleeping at night finally. Like, they knew I was okay for the most part. I mean, I could have ran from the house and I could have used and made some different choices, but days ended up weeks, ended up months, and I lived in the female house for 5 months. I started building a relationship with my family, that I never dreamed of that I would ever have. Like, I accepted an active addiction, that I would have died and my daughter would have been raised by someone else or by my parents. Like, a lot of kids in America are raised by their grandparents because of their parents' addiction. And, I accepted that while I was using, and being able to live in this house and have the structure that McShin provided me in my early recovery, that's what saved me. I've tried, like I say, a ton of different things, but having John, and Carol McDade and Daniel Payne, people here, working here, they saved my life, and I finally threw up my hands. It was like, Okay, I mean, it took a minute. I was definitely whiny and bratty and thought I knew all the answers and give me the keys to the house, to my parents because, I'm in this McShane Foundation now and I can, give me everything back. And that just wasn't my reality. They took baby steps with me. I put them through living hell for a long time. I used for 14 years. And, what McShane gave me was a life that I never dreamed of. And a lot of hard work. I've worked very hard to get where I am today. In what the recovery process is, for us with the SUD is a miracle. I have a life that I never dreamed of as a kid. I never dreamed of an active addiction. I'm able to be a mom today. So now my daughter is now 16. She has a job. She's doing great in school. She drives, which is another whole thing I never thought I would see, nor guide her on how to drive. And my son is 9, and he's never had to see me use. I'm married to my husband, and he is in long-term recovery as well. And we've grown, in our relationship and in our marriage because of recovery. And I want to touch a piece on like prevention, as well. Like how my husband and I raise our children it's very important that they're surrounded by recovery. Like my daughter, I got her back when I moved out of McShane. She was 5 years old, almost 6. And my son has literally been raised here from birth. He was in my office, and they see so much love. My kids have been raised in recovery. Like all of our friends are in recovery. The people that we surround ourselves with are in recovery. They see so much love and hugs and I love you and our prevention as our home is open conversations. So specifically with the teenage daughter, we keep it open. We keep it real with her. We don't really sugarcoat much in our home because I feel like with so many families that I've come across and I see nationwide kind of push it to the side that it's never going to happen to my kid and, it's never going to happen in this community or in this school or whatever. And I'm not a believer of that. It's like I'm a believer of, being honest with my children and having conversations so they can talk to me. My son talks to me, about drugs. We don't just say no in our house. We do not rock that saying in our house. That is never going to come out of my mouth. What I do say is if you know someone that's using, which my daughter does, she shows me the Snapchats and she shows me, stuff that's on social media and stuff. And she knows how to guide them to McShane or other resources as well because she does her own prevention program through the Hanover CSB that she does, which I'm really proud of her. This is volunteer based. She wanted to do it. So she gets to go into schools and teach about addiction and just show other kids, what life is like as a kid in recovery, which is really, well, a kid of someone in recovery, excuse me. But don't be afraid to talk to your children, about drugs and alcohol. Don't be afraid to have those open conversations, man, because life is just too short. This opiate epidemic specifically, is killing our kids. Literally every single day, and why not have that voice? Why not start at home? I can go out, I speak everywhere. I was on shows. I'm not afraid to talk about my addiction. I'm not afraid to talk about solutions to addiction. But if I don't start in my own home, our future, our generation, what is the point of me being on here today? We have to have these conversations with our children. We have to teach them about addiction, not just drugs and alcohol. Don't drink at parties and da da da. I tell my daughter, if you do, please call me. She knows she can call me. She knows she can call my sisters or those. She's become friends with my women friends in recovery because we become a family. We have a family unit of recovery. It's not just blood family. So you develop a whole entire family, in this process of recovery that you never thought you would have. You have your blood family, but this recovery family is amazing. The women and men in my life that have showed up, not just for me, but for my kids, man. This is what life is about, being kind and helping someone and waking up every day. How can we make this world better? And I know to not use, so I don't make my family worry or crumble or I die and my kids are left and my husband and my loved ones are left to a mess, and, I want to be a mom today, and that took me some time to reveal to me like how passionate I am and how strong of a mother I am. It's because of recovery. It isn't because of any magical theory or magical training. It's because of recovery and the people in my life that teach me how to be a mom. And my kids are amazing. They're two amazing, amazing kids. I know everyone says that about their kids, but I'm not kidding. Like the stuff that they do for others is because they've learned it here at McShin, or they learned it through me and my husband's recovery. And my husband hires, new people to recovery, and people are always at our house and they see us giving, so it's important for our kids to have awesome role models, and they do. And I'm not saying that to be cool or nothing, but they really do because of our core and our values in recovery. In my family today, like my daddy and my parents and my sisters are so proud of me. They know like I have to have sustainable recovery. I can't just stop. I still do my personal recovery outside of McShin to this day because it is what saved my life and gave me the life that I have today. So, my family, the funny thing, like, I guess the best part of like having a family that's so supportive of my recovery is like we have a relationship that I just never thought I would have. We have conversations about stuff that I never thought I would talk to my daddy about, just emotions and feelings and motherly, stuff I ask my mom's, advice for. And it's just amazing, to be able to see what recovery has done, not just for me, but for my family. So my sisters, call me all the time and get advice, on how to handle difficult people in their lives because of my recovery tools that I have. Not just because I'm their sister and they want advice, but they know I have a different spirit and a different spirituality than most earth people or people without addiction have. So it's really cool. They call me to get mom advice and just certain things that I never thought my sisters would, really care about. And I have two brothers and a stepbrother, so it's 6 of us. So we're all, it's very important to have a positive family in your life. So, through the process of recovery, we've healed so much, and what I do at McShin every day. So I'll talk a little about that is, I get to heal families just like mine was. I get to talk to people every single day that come through our door in their families. There's two ends of it. I get to experience the family members across from my desk on my couch crying their eyes out, begging me to save their kid's life. And then I get to see and meet the child or wife or whatever the situation is and see and guide them and help them blossom into a human they never thought they could be. The families that I interact with and the families that support McShin, and we have a ton of them. We have so many families that support McShin, and not just financially, but emotionally, advocates, all of the things that, we need out there. We have a strong network of families because the good work that we've done with their family member and their loved one. It is so important. Like McShin says, healing families and saving lives, and that is no joke. Like it is so important to heal that family, not just that individual with the SUD, because you can heal them and help them all day long, but they go back home to their families or they build their family network through recovery. So we just do so much damage to our families in active addiction. That's so important for us to teach the person with the SUD and teach that family like how to help that individual in that recovery, not really how to save them, but that's kind of our role as humans in recovery, is to try to save them, but how to support them, how to never give up on them, how to love them no matter what they've done to you. Like that is the stuff that we teach here at McShin through our own lived experience. So all of my staff are in recovery, so they have their lived experience, with their family dynamic and can share with each individual that comes through here. But we have countless members of our family council in our family program here at McShin, they're advocates. They go out to the public and give the public knowledge of what family recovery is. They are peers to those family members, and they're strong women and men. Some have lost their kids or loved ones to addiction, and some are doing amazing, and some are still in our recovery housing. It's important to have as many people as you can to be advocates for, recovery, because if you don't, who else is going to speak up for this? It is my role on earth to be an amazing mom, to be an amazing wife, sister, friend, daughter, and an amazing CEO of this organization. And what that means to me is I wake up every single day. I have a routine every single day. I make sure I'm a mom, not just to my kids, but my 2 dogs. I exercise, I do my meditations, I show up to work, I work my butt off, and I am surrounded by people every single day that love me, whether it's my family, my recovery family, or my work family, which is my recovery family as well. So it's important to know and to educate the families, don't give up, no matter what you do. I'll never forget, before I came to McShin, and I deserved it, I truly do. My parents, my daddy specifically, my dad, I got a little twang, but my daddy, I'll never forget, I was withdrawn through heroin. I was a skeleton. I was a criminal. I did so much stuff. I was just I didn't care about living. And I told him, I was like, I'd rather die. And he just said, okay. And that is what I needed. And I know that's controversial, in our world, but I needed to hear that. I needed to know, lying about my battery being dead for the 100th time was done. I needed to know that. I needed to know I was never getting another penny from him again. That kind of gave me that extra push to call John and to come and talk to John about McShin. And some families do that, some don't. But for me and my story, that was a little part of what helped me and got me through these doors, and saved my life. So, just don't give up. My family has been such a huge support in my recovery, and they tried everything they can, from addiction. And, I think, what I'm sick of is just the death. Right now it is senseless in just our policies and everything going on in our communities. People are dying every single day. And it's up to us to be advocates, whether you're a family member, whether you're a professional, whether you're in recovery. It is up to us to scream it from the rooftops, solutions to addiction. And I will not stop. It's so important to me to be a face and voice at all times, to educate the community, to talk about my story, because that gives you hope that, the whirlwind I put my family through and put myself through to where my life is today is 2 totally different worlds. Being a mom today is way different when I was in active addiction. I'm present, I show up, I have money, I don't pawn my daughter's stuff anymore. I don't steal her birthday money out of her birthday cards. She gets birthday money from me. She gets things from me. They have all their needs met and a lot of their wants. And it's because of recovery and me actively still working my program of recovery. So, families out there, man, just breathe, just take a breath, and just don't give up, reach out to individuals, that have lived experience in organizations like McShin, so we can help you. I can hook you up with all of our family members, that are in our family council and doing amazing things every single day, to help families. And the most important thing, families need to know is, you can't give up no matter what. This is your family or loved one. You can do your best and send them to resources. You just love them no matter what. And there has to be so many solutions there that you can, Google or whatever. It's just all these people that are going to be on this awesome, amazing conference that Shelly put together. That's a ton of resources right there. You got to just watch them and get the resources, but you can always call McShin at 804-249-1845 or mcshin.org, and we can show you, and we do on-site interventions, and you come in anytime. Like, we're really super cool people, we keep it real around here. We're very authentic because it's life or death, and it's important to, know that this is life or death, whether it's opiates, cocaine, alcohol is skyrocketed. So alcohol is number one up there too, so you got to remember, like, a drug is a drug, that is affecting so many families in the community at large, all over the nation. So it's important for us to be a voice and to help you guys, and guide you, and I can, certainly contact me anytime at the McShin Foundation. But I want to end this. A, thank you for your time, but B, I want to show you a couple things, just so you know that people can change. Your loved one can change. I promise you, over the years of my family trying to fix me and have this magical cure of addiction, did not work until I walked through McShin, that authentic peer-to-peer recovery. But I'm just going to show you a couple things really quick. So this is me sleeping, but this is me also on methadone and other drugs, and early, my daughter Destiny, that is me. I was on a lot of drugs as she was a baby, so I look like a completely, obviously different person, but that is her, 16 years ago. This is my family today. This is my children. This is my dog. This is my son. That's Destiny, Wyatt, and Shelby. This is my life. This is what my purpose is to, be a mom to all these three. I want to show you, this is my daddy. I just never thought this day would happen, and in the roughness and just all the stuff I put him through. Like, this picture at my sister's wedding is worth a million words. I mean, a million. Like, it is priceless. Look at that laugh. Like, you can have that too with your family, I promise you. Like, look at that. That is that photographer captured something that I never even dreamed of was possible. Here is, my whole family. This is our other dog, and that's my husband. And, they get to see mommy. They get to see wifey. They get to see me helping people every single day. This is me and my siblings. This is what life is about. All those years, of addiction taught me to be who I am. Like, I don't resent or I don't regret. I truly believe my purpose of all those years of using is to get me where I am today at McShin and being able to help, other people just like me. I mean, my daughter has no long-term effects of the opiate use, and she's beautiful, smart, and my son is a funny little sports playing dude. Like, just don't give up. Just don't give up. Recovery is a miracle. It really is. The life that I have today is a miracle, and I choose to live it every single day, and I choose to help people every single day, because everyone should be doing that in some form or fashion. I think this world would be a better place and a more kind and loving place if everyone just took a minute to help someone else every single day instead of helping yourself. I'm a big believer on, like, life is just too short and you got to live in the moment. And that's what I teach my kids, learn how to love themselves and feel their feelings. And, you got to feel your feelings too. You got to feel what your loved ones are putting you through. You got to feel, what addiction is sometimes, to be able to, like, get through that path and, learn about recovery and the solutions, to addiction. And, we can do this together, and we can help. And I know we can put a dent, if not a huge dent in this opiate epidemic specifically, if we're loud and we use our voices, and I'm going to do it. So I ask that you do it as well, and you reach out and you share your stories. Our stories are powerful. I promise you have a story to tell, and you need to get out there to your policymakers, to anyone that you can think of, to schools, to whatever. You have to be a voice at all times, and that's my purpose on this earth, is to be a voice for you guys. And thank you for attending, and be a voice to that person that has no idea what they're going through, and that family member that has no idea how to save their loved one's life. I am that voice, and everyone on this conference are those voices, and your voice needs to be heard. So thank you for your time. Again, you can reach me anytime at honesty@mcshin.org, and I'm happy to have this conversation some more, and happy to help anywhere that I can. So thank you.